Okay, so we got this thing off, and what we're looking at here, right up here, that's a core plug, or a freeze plug some people call them, and that appears to be leaking. We've got quite a bit of water down here. You can see how it's red. It looks like it was up in there. I put sealant around that when I put it on. I also put sealant on the end of this is your camshaft here, and there's an O-ring that fits in there, and I went ahead and put RTV sealer on that. And this is just a plug. I believe this goes into the oil system. It might be, that's probably the cooling system. It probably goes into the cooling system. And I put sealant on that, but obviously this one here, that's leaking. And as we go over to the back of the housing here, and we look right here, oops. We look right in here, you can see quite a bit of rusty, gunky stuff in there. And that's a lot of rust in there. So it looks like this is, well, this is behind that plug that's leaking, the core plug. And so that had filled up with water, and when I popped this thing loose, it ran down out of there. I don't know that I'm pretty sure the water that's down in there came from inside these holes here when I washed it off. But nonetheless, I mean, I haven't been going through antifreeze or coolant on it, and I haven't been going through oil really to speak of, but obviously we've got oil leaks too. So yeah, we're gonna have to clean this stuff up and get going on it. I replaced these plugs 280 hours ago. There's two here at the back of the head and one here at the back of the block, and then there's two on the side of the block here and down there, here and down there. So I did replace those upon the fixing or the restoration of the tractor, but these aren't leaking. The original ones did leak, but they were, you know, 5 years old or whatever. So that's why I deemed to replace them, and we'll get into all of that when we come back. So we drained the block out. Now, the 8355 has a valve over here on the side of the block right next to your fuel filter system that you can drain it out. And I just took a piece of 5/8 rubber hose and I put it on the outlet of the valve there, and then you just open it up and it runs down into a bucket, and it's all relatively clean. You got to take it helps to take the radiator cap off, because then it allows it to breathe a little better, and the process is quicker that way. But we'll get done with the core plug, and then we'll let this set overnight, let that sealant seal up on that plug. We'll put the antifreeze mixture back in it and make sure that it doesn't leak just sitting here. If it does, we'll have to do it again, but if it doesn't, then we will be a-okay. Welcome back. Okay, here we are with our core plug. This is what's known as a Welch style plug, and we have one right here. It's kind of a little bit of a dish type thing that fits in there. You can see how it's stamped out. It's higher here, pushed out into a little bit of a dish style there. And what happens is you put that in the hole, and then you're going to hit it here in the middle. If you can see here, there's a little dent in there, but when you hit it in the middle, that causes this to flare out and hopefully mushroom out into this opening to seal it. This is an old style type of plug. David Brown did switch to the cup style, which is a more modern style, and they did that in April of '69 on the 8355 and the 49s. So, you know, you go forward here about 3 more years, you go about 2.5 years forward, and they would have had a cup style on here, which would be more modern. But we're going to go ahead and pull this out. We've drained the block down, and so our water level, our coolant level will be below, or should be below this. And the way you do this, one way you can do it is we're going to drill a hole in it. I need a sharper bit. There we go. Drill a hole in it. And we're going to take a screw. And we're going to run that into there. Kind of like that. I do want to scrape this edge out a little bit here. And I'm just using my pick here. Scrape that out a little bit. Yeah, just get the crud that might be in there. 280 hours. Yeah, we may have some debris in there, huh? And you take your standard pry bar, put it on here, and give it a pop. And out she comes. Now, put that down. As we look at this, we do have some gunk down here on the bottom. It seems to have gotten in there. And a little bit of it in there too. Now, I had the block dipped and cleaned back in, well, actually it was late, it was I think September of 21 when I had the block done, and we got it back and it sat inside till we got ready to do the engine part, which would have been the following May, I believe it was, or June possibly. So there we go. Now, we look in there. That is inside your cylinder block. That is your coolant jacket. There will be water, antifreeze flowing around here. That, I'm touching that. That is your cylinder. That's the back cylinder, the number 3 cylinder. Obviously the outside of it. And that's what we get into. Can't really see much in there, can you? But you want this lip here, right around here, we want this to be all cleaned up. And we're going to put a little RTV sealer on there. And then we're going to put that cap, the new plug, we're going to put that on there. And yeah, we'll see if we can't get it to seal up this time. And that will sit right in there. I don't want to put it in there yet. I picked these up actually. These are by Dorman, D-O-R-M-A-N. The number's 550-025. It is 1 3/4 inches, and that is the diameter of it. So it's 1 3/4 inches across it here. I got these at O'Reilly Auto Parts here in the United States, which you could order them from them anywhere. Give them that number and that should pop up. So we're going to get some sealant ready here, and then we'll come back and wrap this up. So I've wiped this out multiple times. The last time I used a white paper towel, and it had no residue on it. So I think that this rim is pretty clean here. I'm using Permatex. This is Formagasket. It's a fast drying, hard setting compound that I'm using here. And the reason is we have 2 hard pieces that are going together, so there shouldn't be any movement in them. We pretty much want them stuck together as good as we can get them. And I'm just going to put this around in this channel here. So that hopefully it will help it seal. And if it doesn't, you can always put your all that sealant, you can put it in the radiator in your antifreeze, and it'll help seal up leaks. Now we want to let this kind of crust over a bit, set up a little bit before we actually put the plug on there. So we'll let that set, and then yeah, we'll come back. Alrighty, yeah, we'll see if we can. Get it seated in there. Feels like it's in there all the way. Kind of a tight fit, you know, sometimes you gotta do these things. Now we want a mushroom out the middle of it. What I'm gonna use is a 1/2 inch socket extension. And the reason is, if you look at this end, it's kind of domed up there a bit. So I think that's gonna give us a real good punch in the middle here to flare that out. About like that. Hopefully that'll mushroom that thing in there. And I'll probably go ahead and put more sealant around the outside of it here. Just cause. Now the sealant should be, I mean, this is like a shoulder inside here. So this cap is pushed up to a smaller diameter hole than what this outside hole is. So the sealant will be all the way around in here, and that should dry out, and that should have mushroomed out. It looks like it squeezed the stuff out. Most of it went in with it, it looks like. But I think I'll go ahead and take some more sealant and just put around this outside, and yeah, then we'll go from there. Welcome back. Hey, Technical Brad here. Okay, we look at our plug here. Yeah, that stuff's setting up pretty decent. It's not as hard as what I thought it would be, but yeah, it looks like it's sealing up pretty decent, so that's a good thing. As we said, these are 1 3/4 plugs on this. Up here we have a 1-inch plug on the back of the head. I did replace those. It's the same type of thing. You're going to ding it in the middle to get it to seal. And I replaced those back when we did the restoration. An interesting thing is when I took these out, I got to digging around inside the casting. There wasn't a whole lot of room in there or anything like that. But as I dug around in there, I came up with some sand that came out of the casting. I went ahead and bagged it here. This probably was from the actual casting process. It was kind of oily sand. Looks like it's kind of dried out now, but it was just impacted down inside a corner down in here where the water and stuff couldn't flow, and it apparently didn't get taken out when they did the initial clean on it after they pulled it out. I'm assuming these were sand castings. Going back that far, probably was, but a little something I dug out of there I thought was kind of funny. So we're gonna go ahead and put the coolant antifreeze back in it and make sure that that doesn't leak before we proceed on. And we will do that when we come back. Welcome back. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and put the antifreeze back in our radiator here. I got just a funnel we stick down in there. It's been 24 hours since we put the new cap on there, the new plug, and so we're going to see if it leaks. I'm going to go ahead and pour our antifreeze back in to our system. See if that plug sealed or not. And you want to do this before you put the tractor all back together, even that flywheel housing, because if it's leaking, you have to be able to get to it. And I have had them leak. Obviously that one leaked. It wasn't bad enough. You know, for Filling up. All right, got a smidgen left in there. And come around here, and it's dry, so we'll let it